Welcome to Your Next Stop. This is Juliette Hahn. I am a wife, mom, virtual coach, public speaker, and crazy obsessed dog lover. I am so honored to be able to take you into the life of someone that has followed a passion. Every week, I hope you are as inspired as I am. Welcome to Your Next Stop. Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to Your Next Stop with Juliette Hahn, another Clubhouse favorite. I'm sure you guys are like, oh, does she interview anyone that's not on Clubhouse? I do, but I wanted to introduce you guys to Tracey Watts Cirino. Hi, Trace. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to be here, Juliette. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No worries. And you know what? I called you Trace. We've actually never seen each other and don't know each other, but I felt like that just came natural. So I hope that's okay.
Totally. That's why I reached out to you, because I was like, some stuff that you said on Clubhouse, because I'm very new to Clubhouse. I just got on it. I think that was like maybe my second time the day I reached out to you. I'm like, oh, we have to be friends. So that's so natural that you called me Trace, because I felt that initially.
Which I love. Okay. So Tracey is an entrepreneur, author, and she is also a podcast. Okay, Tracey. So I love that you were in that room, and I totally remember it, because can you tell my audience what you just told me, like right before we started recording? And I was like, oh, why didn't I record? About what I said about preparing to be on someone else's podcast?
Yes. So Juliette asked me these great questions about, do you send these notes out to people? Do you do that? And I was like, no, your podcast or her talk on Clubhouse she gave me permission to be my natural self. She said specifically, I don't prepare, because the few times I've tried, I was fumbling with my notes, was so confused, and felt like, because the person was a big deal, she made herself nervous. So I said, oh my God, she's my soul sister. We have to be friends. I reached out to her right away. I'm like, I'm naturally really good at asking such random curious questions since birth. That when you said that, I was like, oh my God, why am I not using my natural skill set on my own podcast?
Right. And you know, I love that, because that is so, and that's why I do those Clubhouse rooms to do that. So when I first started interviewing people, I know if someone came to me and asked or was like, I want to be on your podcast, or, someone asked to be on my podcast, or I asked them to be on, and I gave them a laundry list of things. Like usually I do things so fast, and like, I don't have time to dive into that I was not doing that. So I always ask, I really ask you to do nothing. Just wear headphones and a microphone, and come on time. If you need to reschedule. Because just what you said, I'm a very curious person. So I always ask questions, because I love to listen. I love to hear people's stories, and I love doing what I'm doing. So questions just come naturally. So that's like my total way I do things. I just love to hear and learn what the person's doing, and then I come up with questions as I go. So I'm so happy that my talk on Clubhouse kind of gave you permission to be yourself. So tell us first, like where you were, how you got to where you are, and what you're doing.
Oh, that's a long question answer. But my background is in hair and beauty. So I have run and operated an award-winning salon, top 200 salon, for almost 15 years. Coming back from the pandemic, we came back strong. I had also, during the pandemic, launched a book that got pushed back and delayed because of COVID and all the stuff happening. So I guess the best way to say what all transpired is, like, in 2019, I was working really hard to set up that we had a really strong managerial team in place at the salon, because I was preparing for not being there, because the book launch was coming, and this was like a different chapter, and COVID completely changed that. So I went, for the sake of my team and everybody, I of course just went right into like working my butt off, taking care of everybody else, and not really thinking about it. And then so many people on our team, like people had moved out of state right before COVID, which we knew was happening. And we had like a year to fill those positions. These were like really quality team members that had been with us a long time. And, so it was all like, we're grateful, you're moving on, you're doing awesome. We had time to fill, and it was a challenge. Like, we were really struggling. Like, we had hired so many people that just completely did not work out. It was like, in all my years in business, we never had such a bad run.
Okay.
Of like people, we'd hire people, they seemed awesome. And I'm pretty good at reading people. And it was like, I could write another book about the crazy stuff that happened in that 6 months. Because you're like, no, never have I ever. Is like, I would win. I would not let anyone play that with me right now because I would win. Like, I'd take all your money. So, so that whole thing happened leading up to, like, before COVID.
Okay, so I'm going to pause you for 2 seconds. So where are you located? Where is your salon?
So, well, here, I'm getting to that. So coming back from that, so I was like, coming back from that, we came back strong. Everything was good. However, I had to take a look and say, this is a different phase of my life. And my heart was calling me so much to help business owners and really dive deep into what my book is about. So Beyond Common, 12 Essentials for Success in Life in the Workplace is for any super busy woman to look at her life and say, okay, what's really required to be successful? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. There is a proven set of skills that you need to have to be successful. So this is the simple, uncomplicated kindergarten version of what those skills are. It's a very simple guidebook. And then from there, for people that are training their teams, it's as simple as, before you start, you have to read this book.
Right.
You're going to eliminate so much time, stress, financial ruin of investing in people that don't, fit by using it. So coming back, I just had to look at it and say, okay, we're in this phase of having to rebuild. And as much as I love doing hair and I have been very successful, I'm grateful for that so much. My heart wasn't in it to totally like start over. And if that was where we were. So I was offered for someone, like our landlord was like, my girlfriend wants to buy it if you don't want. I'm like, seriously? Okay, it's yours. Done.
Wait, that's so interesting because I literally just interviewed someone 2 times ago that bought someone's salon during COVID. So where are you located?
So in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, this is person's in Long Island. Because I was like, that would have been, I think her person, she bought it from a gentleman, but I was like, that would have been so weird if like I had both of you guys on. So I just want to take my listeners back for 1 second. So you were growing, like as a kid, you did stuff. Did you go to school for hair and beauty? Like you knew that's what you wanted to do? Okay. So,
I went to school for cosmetology, which is like the hair and beauty licensing. I did that in high school because we had a huge family and I did not want to be a starving college kid. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a psychologist. So I just was doing hair to not be poor, and because I was good at it, if that makes sense. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Well, that's the entrepreneur in you. You're like, I got to do something to kind of fill the thing here. And then you fell in love with it. And so, love it.
So this is what's so interesting because I was just talking to someone about this, that COVID, a lot of people decided, okay, you know what? I need to take a pivot in my life. Like this is not filling my cup. This is not filling my basket. I need to take a pivot. So that's exactly what you did. And because of the churn of COVID, you then became an author and then you started a podcast and then you did. So I love that you kind of were like, okay, that was an awesome time that I did in my life. I followed a passion, but now it's something else. So take us a little bit through. And I love that I'm going to have you dive into a couple tips if you could share with us. But So give us a little bit more about that journey as you kind of went through it.
So at the start of my career in hairdressing, I was very young. I was 18 and I was offered to work like side by side as a like assistant show hand for some of the biggest educators and platform artists in hairdressing. And I worked for free. I worked 18 hours a day, paid my own way there just to soak up how amazing, just to be around like the great people. And then as I moved up the ranks and became, I guess qualified, I started teaching at these big stage shows. So Irvin and Louise Rusk are originally from Scotland. They were my mentors as well as their design team. And so over the years I worked, I said I worked really hard in poverty. So freaked out I was going to get fired from my dad laughed at me all the time. Like, so you're not getting paid? Like, I don't understand this. You're leaving your paying job. Like, he would pick on me and like, I can't get my employees to do this. Did I drop you on your head? Like, it was like, I'm like, no, like I just didn't know people in that circle that I needed to be around if I was going to be the best. And I loved it. So it was just, I just did anything I could to serve so that I could help and just be better and better.
Right.
So at some point I got good enough that I was on stage, and then I would perform like haircuts, colors, advanced color techniques, and a lot of consultations, and just like how to talk to clients and like elevate your professionalism. I just naturally gravitated towards that from a very young age. So anything that was about professionalism and how, hey, there is a formula, like let's do this, I always felt magnetically pulled towards. And then people would hire me, they'd see me on stage, and then they would hire me like a freelancer to create like these salon training programs for their teams.
Got it.
And so that happened organically. It was like a business I literally stumbled into, like fell into it. And that led me to end up opening salons. Like, oh, I should create that for myself. Well, going full circle now, the salon has been amazing, having people side by side. But coming back, I just had wrote the book. It was delayed, everything COVID. So that was all going to happen anyway. But my heart was just saying, I really love going in and helping other salon owners, other business owners. Right. And I've done a lot of work with 10,000 Small Business. It's an awesome grant program for any of your listeners that's available. I think it's in 15 cities across the nation that you essentially apply to become, you get an MBA in your own business. And it's totally funded by Goldman & Sachs. It's the best. So I've done a lot of advocacy work for them during COVID, like just reaching out.
And what's it called?
It's called 10,000 Small Business. It's amazing. So that I've got to work with a lot of business owners in different fields and that type of thing. And it just has ignited my passion to really help and be of service to female entrepreneurs. So
I love that.
That's why we're here, right? And then I started the podcast before we officially sold this, but it all happened so quickly. So
what is your podcast? What is it called?
So the podcast is called Beyond Common Business Secrets.
Got it. And you talk literally what you talk about exactly what you talk
all the secrets of everything. Like literally oh, Juliet was on Clubhouse and said, you can be yourself. Oh, that is a business secret. Some of us don't take the time to know that.
But actually that's so true. That is so people don't. They think they have to, they see someone running a business and they think they need to do what that person's doing. And what I am so passionate about is you have to be yourself, because if you're not yourself, you're not comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, you're not attracting the people that you're truly meant to help.
Exactly. And that's essentially what Beyond Common 12 Essentials for Success is taking that step back to really dive deep into what do you want? What's your, how do we utilize your strengths? Because so many people get caught up on what I call the hamster wheel, that you're just doing all the things. And then you're just so deprived and devastated, laying on the floor going, but I did everything. Yeah, but it could have been so easy and fun if you picked what was working for your strengths.
Which is working for your strengths. And that's the thing. I always say also, analysis paralysis. People also get into that where they're like, well, I have to make it perfect here and I have to make it perfect there. In Clubhouse and the rooms that I run, I do get a lot of people that are either reformed perfectionist or are perfectionists. And that, I am not a perfectionist at all. And so, I do, as I said in the room the other day, I was like, well, no, it's not that I'm not at all. I don't just throw things, but I will see what works. I am not afraid of failing. And I think in perfectionism, that is one of the biggest fears for someone, that they are afraid of failing. And I always say, you have to fail to grow. Right. Yeah. So you have to try all these different things to get to the main purpose of what your purpose in life is. And if you are a driven person, you will find it. And, you might fail 1,000 times, you might fail twice, but so I think it's so important. And I love that you decided, okay, you know what? And that someone came to you and said, I'm willing to buy the salon. Let me do that. That all just aligned and worked out. And that's what I love. That's
I never would have considered it ever. It was just not on the radar. It was I almost thought in my mind that we had, it had to be this way. We can't have the book launch without the salon, because that's our success plan. So I did get locked in a little bit of perfection because I guess it was just the only thing I was used to. And then I was then pulling it out, I'm no, I actually can help so many more people this way.
Well, and also it's scary, right? To do something that you have never done before and then sell your baby that you've, been in, and that was your breadwinner. to sell that and be like, okay, I mean, that's scary. And that it takes a certain individual to be able to do that. And that is an entrepreneur, right? An entrepreneur is someone that's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a risk here. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah. Well, because if not, it's like something else will. And
yes,
getting back to what you were saying about like failure, like I say all the time now, like failure is not a destination. It is many of the steps in your process to success. Like you have to like stop looking at it as a destination. Like it's not defining you. You're not a failure.
Totally.
You're going to make mistakes that you can call like, oh, I failed if you want to. But this is just proving to you like, okay, that doesn't work, but what will? Like this next thing. So if we just kind of look at it always like you're almost failing forward.
Failing
like,
forward.
Okay, I'm stumbling and falling down and okay, like,
Yeah, because it's really not like, right. And I love how you said that. Like, it's not really failure, because failure is a negative word. Yeah. Mistakes and missteps are like a little bit more positive. Stay tuned for a quick message from my sponsor.
Hi, my name is Shari Hodis, and I'm the president of Aura Limited, a proud all-women-owned brand marketing and global sourcing agency. Simply put, we provide fashion-forward swag for any and all of your branding needs. Please visit us at www.auralimitedspelledout.com.
So can you tell us a little bit about that, the Beyond Common Business Secrets, like maybe a couple of you don't have to give them all away because we want people to go and subscribe and get that free guide from you. But can you give us a couple of your favorite and most, and you can see my hands moving here.
I love it. Yeah. I totally get it.
Totally. So can you tell us what your favorite, like top 3 are that you start with your clients?
When going through the process of
yes.
So I always have people clearly define what they want. And that one people get stuck on.
Right.
So this could, like, you think like you're just listing a to-do, but when you really dig deep to what is it that you really want? What's your heart's desire? It's bigger than that task.
Right.
So we have to we have many different techniques and methods to get you through that sort of to get you unstuck, because people can be stuck there.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. That's like the number one roadblock or wall people run into. So I have many different techniques to help remove that. Then after that, it's like you have to define how the business is going to serve that need that you have. And most people don't set up business that way. Right. I didn't for years. And I am a recovering perfectionist to cover up all the things that I thought were wrong. Right. So it's been a years of journey of removing that stuff. So the next phase is how to figure out how to make the business serve that which you deeply desire, that you really want. Right. And then then the third thing would be to build your team around, hey, you need people that you may not genuinely click with right off the bat, like how you and I did, Julia. You might not click. But if you can find people that are your opposite, but you have similar values, yes, and there's a lot of tactical things that you can do to find that. Right. So we kind of guide people through that process.
Which is so true, because that is such an important thing. I always say it's so important to surround yourself with people that lift you, but also that can fill in, because we all have our strengths and weaknesses, right? I am a huge component. There are certain things that I suck at. One is spelling. I suck at spelling, and I really kind of suck at grammar.
Me too. Me too.
And writing it, right? So I always know I need someone to proofread something. And I also know that there's other things that maybe I'm not as great as an organization here, because I'm all when I have an idea, I go, and I always kind of need someone to be okay, take a breath. Let's think about this. Let's but I'm great at coming up with ideas and brainstorming and then taking off with it. Right. But sometimes you need to stop and be okay, let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's kind of create it a little bit more from the idea and see where that looks. And I've done that for years, where I've oh, what about this? And then it's okay, when you really then put it out on paper, it's I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that's going to serve what you want it to. I don't know if it's going to make money. I don't know if this, and it's okay, you're right, because I see where the missing piece is, and there's nothing that can really fill that. Yeah. But then let's figure out the next thing. Let's figure out the next thing and figure out the next thing. So I think that is such an important thing about really kind of surrounding yourself with people that can fill in those voids that you have. And also just the brainstorming aspect. You could come up with even bigger things, right?
Yes. Well, and it almost has to be where you might not love it, but they have to be people that are confident enough within themselves to challenge your ideas. Because I suffer that same thing. I have a million ideas, and people that don't have ideas, like they don't come natural to them, think that's so amazing. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like my husband laughs at me. She's like, she has more ideas while she's brushing her teeth than I have all month. Like, I don't even know. Like, it's like a big joke. He's like, I'm watching your brain and I'm tired. Like, how do you do that? I wake up like, boom. And so to somebody else, that's like exhausting. To me, I'm like, what do you, so it's like you need people around to decipher which ideas, right? Like you said, can you monetize it? Is it actually applicable right now? Right. Is the timing right? So, but some people, because you're so strong in your conviction of your idea, so you have to make sure they're strong with yes. Okay, well, let's flip it upside down and break down why it wouldn't work. Okay.
Yes, that's so true. And I love that you just said that about your husband, because my husband says the same thing. My husband's like, oh, the squirrel's going. He calls it the squirrel my brain. Yeah. And I literally, every time I wake up and I'm like, I've had dreams about ideas. I've had this and this. And I wake up like this. I don't drink coffee. And the rest of my house is a little bit slower when they wake up. So when mom's like this, they're like, oh, okay. And I've learned very well, because that's, no one wants that in their face all the time if that's not how they are. So I know I'm a very people person, so I know not to go at them. But there'll be times where I come in from my dog walk, because that's where I get like my best ideas. And my husband will be like in the kitchen getting coffee or something. And this is what I will say to him. Do you have 5 minutes to like discuss some stuff? Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he does. Sometimes he doesn't have the bandwidth to deal. And other times he's like, yeah, let's do it. But it's so funny because he's like, oh, the squirrel's going. And he gets this little smirk, though. It's like my favorite thing, because my husband is way more laid back than me. He's like a very practical man. And I am like, like this big ball of fire. And so when he gets this little smirk that he gets, I'm like, oh, he loves it. And so that's like his excitement. And so it's really funny because I get like, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. When I'm happy, I'm happy. When I'm angry, I'm angry. When I'm sad, I'm sad. And it's like, everyone knows it. But like with my husband and one of my kids, it's funny because they are very like kind of more, I guess internal. Uh-huh. So, and they don't, it's not that they're stuffing, because we talk about like stuffing feelings. It's not that they're stuffing, but they do like, they're just not as outwardly expressive. So, when it's like, they like something, they get this like little look and you're like, yes, all right. That's like me screaming from the rooftops, right?
Yeah. Like they're just thinking. Their process is a little more thinking than just outwardly feeling it. Yeah. Totally.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that you said that, because that's exactly what it is. So Tracey, tell us where everyone can find you so they can, your websites, your Clubhouse, Instagram, all of your social media.
So we transitioned the salon into an online beauty product store. So that's like lavish luxury products. And that is on social, Facebook, Instagram, all that. So it's just lavish. And that is for, any beauty stuff. And then I kind of talk to salon professionals in that space too. But all of my stuff is Tracey Watts Cirino. So YouTube is Tracey Watts Cirino, Instagram, Facebook, Clubhouse. Oh God, did I leave any out? LinkedIn, all of them.
Yeah.
My podcast is Beyond Common Business Secrets. It's everywhere, but Apple's just the easiest, so I just always tell people Apple. And then my website is TraceyWattsCirino.com. You can buy the book there. You can get some fun, merch that's kind of fun and silly. And then my gift that I wanted to give for your listeners, if you go to BeyondCommonBusinessSecrets.com /guide, I have a specific guide that I created that typically I walk my clients through this, and it's about $1,000. This is free for your listeners to walk themselves through.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. That's awesome. You're the best. So I'm going to have you spell your name, because you do have an E in Tracey. Not everyone does.
Oh, yeah. So I should. Yes. Okay. So let me be clear.
And I'm dyslexic, so I always have everyone spell everything.
So it's so my name is Tracey, TraceyWattsCirino. And that's, .com on the website. And then on social media, it's just Tracey Watts Cirino everywhere.
Perfect.
But yeah, it's Tracey with an E. I forget that because my dad always drilled it into my brain that that's how it's supposed to be spelled.
Right.
But no one's like, I'm always like, that's funny. Because it's not been until I was an adult that I met any other Traceys that spell it the same way.
Same way, right. I know Traceys both, and one spells it with out an E and one spells it with an E. So yes, that's why I wanted to do that. So do you have any like little tidbits just to, as we close out, that you want to share with the listeners? Anything that you, just any words of wisdom?
So I would say that my words of wisdom are to spend that 5 minutes, like when you're done listening to the podcast, when you're done, and really get clear about what you want. Because all these secrets that you share on your podcast that the thing is that until you're really clear about what you want, everything else is just noise.
That's so true. Okay. And I also asked my listeners at the end, because you probably don't know this because you have come to when it's your next stop. But my podcast used to be called Next Stop Crazy Town when I first started it. And it was personal journals. It was stories, just life stories. And I had interviews sometimes, but it was usually just personal stories. And so I ask all my guests now, what does Crazy Town mean to you?
I look at it like something fun, action, stuff's always happening. You don't know what you're going to get. So I see it as exciting.
I love that. Yeah,
I don't know what's other, like I see it as something exciting.
Exciting. Yeah.
I've existed there. I've wanted to be there at times so I get it.
Yeah. And I love that because Crazy Town to me is my energy, my family, my kids, my dogs, my external, my internal, like all my family just is Crazy Town. So it's like very endearing to me. And so I always love to ask people what it is and a lot of people have said that it's like an energy, it's a fun. So I love that that's the name, like what the name has brought. But Tracey, I'm so happy that you joined us today at Your Next Stop. Guys, if you like what you hear, you know what to do. Go subscribe, listen, rate, review, but also go to Tracy's podcast. Tracey, tell us one more time what your podcast name is.
Beyond Common Business Secrets.
Okay. And go over there, listen to Tracey as well. I'm going to be on Tracy's podcast as well. So, which is like very fun, right. Me too. I'm really excited. We're actually recording next week. This podcast does not come out until spring, late spring, because we have so many people that have come on that has shared what they have done with their passion. So guys, don't forget to come back each week and be inspired, and hopefully you will go and create something yourself. So Tracey, thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Juliet. I appreciate it. And thank you to all the listeners for being here.
I hope you liked this episode of Your Next Stop. Please subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and join in each week.